Welcome to VuKNOB. This is the start screen. From here you can choose to either load an example project, access this tutorial video, or start using the app. So let's go ahead and start it. This is the main sequence view. This is where you put together your composition. The basic piece is the instrument, or as I call them, machines. Without the machine, there can be no sound. So the first thing you need to do is to add a machine. This can be done by pressing the plus button on the left-hand side, like this. Here's a list of available machines. I recommend that you play around with them to get to know them better, but for this tutorial I will select the Europa 4 machine. Now we have a line in the sequencer representing the Europa 4 machine. The first square shows part of the name, while the rest of the squares represent the actual sequence. The double 0 you see indicates that loop number 0 is to be played at this location in the sequence. The loop is the piece that contains actual notes. So, first we select loop 0. Then we tap the note icon on the bottom of the screen to get to the loop editor. This is where you enter actual notes to be played by the machine. Low notes at the bottom, high notes at the top. The column on the left indicates which notes is on which row, like a piano. The time then goes from left to right. You can scroll up through the notes or down through the notes by dragging on the left side, and you can scroll the time on the top of this view. So let's enter some notes. Notice here how I drag the top row. This shifts the sequence in time, so I can enter a longer sequence than the one that's actually visible. As you see here, the last note I entered ends on line number 15. Actually, the first line in the loop is line 0. So our loop is 16 lines long. You can enter loops as long as you want, but for this tutorial we are satisfied now with a loop that spans only 16 lines. So let's go back to the sequencer. Okay, let's see how this sounds. I'll press the play button. Okay, we got some sound, but then it stopped. And you see that blue marker around the squares moving to the right. And then it starts over from the beginning. And when it starts over, you get some sound again. So what happens here is that we are playing 4 positions in the sequence, each position containing 16 lines. And we only have a loop entered for the first section. So, to make sound for each of these sections in the sequence, we enter 0 for each position, like this. Now you can hear that we have sound for all positions in the sequence. Each machine has a set of controls that controls its behavior. Let's play around a bit with the controls for this machine. I would like to have some drums as well, so let's go ahead and add the drum sampler machine. The drum sampler machine can replay pre-recorded sounds. There is a set of
sample files already provided with the program, but if you create your own WAV files or you download WAV files, you can use these samples in VuKNOB. The drum sampler can handle up to 12 different samples, one for each note in an octave. So basically it means you can map a drum sample to the C, perhaps a clap to C sharp, and so on. To load the samples, we must go into the control view for the drum sampler. So we first select it and then we press the control button on the bottom of the screen. Then from the drop-down menu we select the sample index to go to the sample index set of controls. By default, the sample indexes are set so that the note C is mapped to sample number 0 in the global sample bank. C sharp is mapped to sample number 1, D to sample number 2, and so on. Remember that the sample bank is global for all instruments and machines. We won't change the mapping here, but we must load the samples since all the slots in the sample bank are empty. So we can just go ahead and press any of these load buttons here. Now we have a list of the global sample bank. And as you see, all slots are empty. So we will go ahead and load samples into index 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so now we have loaded samples. We have entered some notes, but it's really hard to hear anything. The issue here is that we need to change the main volume of the drum sample machine. Okay, now we can hear bass drum play. Let's go back to the loop editor and edit some more notes. When we are in the sequence view, we can mute specific machines by tapping on the first square on each row in the sequencer. It would be nice perhaps to add some effects. For this tutorial we will add a delay effect to the Europa machine. To do this, we must go to the machines view. You reach this by pressing the button at the bottom right of the screen. In this view, the machines view, you will see all the machines that you have in your project and how they are interconnected. Everything that you want to hear on the speaker or in your headphones, all those machines must be connected to the live out sync. This is a special machine that represents the output. So, as you can see, both the drum sampler and the Europa 4 machines are connected to the live out sync. We will add a delay effect to the Europa 4 sound. To do this, we tap somewhere on the screen where there is no machine, and we will get a list of available machines. Then we select the delay machine. The machine is not connected to anything, so it has no effect on the sound. So we must connect it, and to do this, we first select the Europa 4 machine, and then we will select the delay machine and connect that to the live out sync. Okay, let's go ahead. First we select the Europa 4.
Now you see that the view changed a bit. You still have the Europa 4 machine, but on the right you will see a smaller circle called mono. This is one output socket of the Europa 4 machine. Some machines have multiple outputs and inputs, but the Europa 4 only has one output. So, to select the output, we just tap it. And then we are back in the normal machine view, but you see that the Europa 4 machine has changed color. This means that we have an active output selection for that machine. So, to connect the active output, we select the target machine, in this case the delay machine. And now we have a view of the delay machine. And on the left hand side, you will see the inputs that are available on this machine. In this case it's only one, so we tap that. As you can see now, there's a line between the Europa 4 and the delay machine. This means that they are connected. However, that's not enough. We must still connect the output of the delay machine to the live out sync. And to make sure that we have proper sound and not too much sound, we will also disconnect the direct connection between the Europa 4 and the live out sync. Okay, so now we'll go back to the loop editor for Europa 4 to show how to transpose the notes and how to clone a loop so we can create variations of it. Once in the loop editor, there is a button on the top left side. When you click on this button, you get to the loop editor menu. From this menu, you can add a new loop by pressing the plus button. You can also clone the current loop by pressing the plus C button. To transpose the notes in the current loop by one step up, then you press the +1 button, and you can press the -1 to transpose down a note. Or if you want to transpose a whole octave, or actually 12 notes, you press the +12 or the -12. The current loop is indicated by the number between the arrow buttons. You can navigate between the available loops by using these arrow buttons. Now I'm going to show you the jam view. In this view, you can use VuKNOB more as a live instrument. This allows you to experiment with melodies and create loops live. Basically, it's a big pad of 8x8 buttons. Horizontally, you have 8 different notes that you can set to a specific scale by using the drop-down menu. On the vertical scale, there is also a function. However, this depends on the machine. It can be the volume, or in this case, for the Europa 4, it's the cutoff frequency for the filter. You can change the octave for the scale by pressing plus or minus. If you want, you can check the R checkbox. This is for record. If this is selected, everything that you do on the pad will be saved, so you can do layers and layers of music. Finally, I'm just going to add the digital machine, which is a digital simulation of a guitar string, and then I'm just going to play around with that for a while. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching this tutorial.